Welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit, a platform where we have invited Spirit to share messages, healings, and transmissions with all of us. May this energetic experience help us to expand our awareness and to deepen the relationship we have with our higher self, our spiritual team, and with Source, however we define them. Thank you for being here and for taking part in this amazing journey. Hello and welcome to the Channeling Spirit Virtual Summit. My name is Daniel Martinez Stahl. This is day 2, episode 4 of the season. This is my episode, so I'm excited to be sharing with you guys. I'll be very upfront with you guys in terms of the channeling. I've been having a hard time connecting in the last couple of months. I've been told that I'm going through some energy upgrades, and as a result, I'm having a hard time kind of connecting with it. That's really wonderful, Anne-Marie. So there's a comment in the chat about somebody feeling sad, and then a comment again about what Gita Rose had said about about feeling good, and that feeling good is more about allowing ourselves to feel good in the moment regardless of what's happening. And I would reword that. I would talk about, for me, it's about being at peace with whatever I'm feeling. I don't necessarily need to feel good about feeling bad, but it's about being comfortable and being at ease when I do feel bad, and not to allow myself to get into downward spirals. So, as always, guys, this is an interactive session. I'm excited to share with you guys some of my ideas that have been coming to me in the last few months, and just kind of see where it goes from there. Please remind me to channel at some point. It's possible that I might get caught up in sharing with you guys, and I might lose track of time. I'll try not to, but at any point in time, just feel free to just ping me. So if you guys have any questions or want to interact, raise your hand, put a question in the chat, whatever you guys would like to do. Thank you for being here. I'm honored that you're coming to play with me. So the topic for today is redefining what it means to be human. And I don't remember when this phrase hit me, but it was in the last couple of months. I was listening to Matt Kahn talking about people that are empaths or energy sensitive and their ability to transmute energy, and that what we experience isn't so much our emotional experience, but the emotional experience that's around us. And because we are energy sensitives, we have an ability to transmute this energy into something more expansive, something more of a quote unquote higher vibration. And for those of you that have been with me in the past, as you know, I listened to Sarah Landon and the Council, and I reference them a lot. And kind of was during that time when I first started listening to Matt Kahn, it wasn't something he said, but it was around that time that it started occurring to me that what we are doing is we are letting go of the stories that we've been told about what it is like to exist as a human. How do we relate to our bodies, how we relate to others, how we relate to ourselves, how we relate to our experiences, how we relate to our thoughts, how we relate to life itself. And most of us on this call have been alive for a number of decades. And so at least at the time of this live session. I don't know how long this is going to be going forward and who's going to be listening to this when, but most of us have been alive for a number of decades. And during that time, we have accumulated ideas of what it means to be alive. While being human means that we're going to have ups and downs. Being human means that we're going to age and our bodies are going to start disintegrating and getting worse, and we're going to get ill. And we start hearing all kinds of stories about what the human experience is like. That we have to work, and that we have to effort, that we have to, do all kinds of things. For us to expand into a greater level of consciousness, what we are playing with is a releasing and letting go of everything that we thought it meant to be human, and to start to recreate our own ideas of how we want to exist as humans. And so the council regularly talks to us about playing in the fifth dimension. And I am going to talk a little bit about the 3, 4, 5 dimension as they define them, which is the way that I really align to it. Other people will use them differently. So whenever you're listening to people talking about the different dimensions, just understand within your own description as to what kind of level they're playing at and talking about. I love the idea that eventually we're going to get to a point where we won't need to, or we just won't talk about the different dimensions, and we're just going to exist. We're just going to be living beautifully without having to label things. But for now, having these labels helps us to get an understanding of where we are and where we want to go to and things like that. But so third dimension is the dimension of separation. It's the dimension in which we experience life as if we are separate from the earth, from each other, from money, from health, from well-being, from abundance, that it's something that we need to bring into ourselves or bring into our lives, that it's outside of us. The fourth dimension is a dimension of transformation where we begin to recognize that there's something that we can actively do to change our experience of life, to improve the quality of our life. And then the fifth dimension is defined as a dimension of love and collaboration and oneness. For me, the fifth dimension is a space where we are fully aligned with the awareness and the recognition and the knowing that we are the energy of all that is manifested as Daniel or you guys. And when we start to really live from that place of knowing, we start to create, we start to envision, and we start to experience things that are so far beyond anything most of us thought was possible in this lifetime. I am encouraged by a lot of my spirit friends, and when I talk about spirit friends, I'm referring to my friends that are in non-physical form that come and chat with me through friends of mine that channel. And so I've heard from a number of different spirit friends that there are tremendous changes within this lifetime that we're going to be able to go through and experience and live through. And so that's really exciting for me. I'm really excited to get to a point within my own life where I can start to create knowing that there's nothing I can't do. To start to create from a playful, expansive, abundant perspective, just for the fun of creating, just for the fun of living, just for the fun of experiencing it. That's something that really excites me. And I am honored to be in a position where I am sharing my journey with you guys. And, whatever I can do to help you get there is part of my passion. It's part of my, yeah, we'll just leave it at that. It's part of my passion. So I regularly talk about how I'm really slow at, awakening into my gifts and awakening into my channeling ability. And I have friends that will talk to me about how the more that I talk about it, the more it's going to stay away. And one of the kind of recognition, awarenesses, insights that I received not too long ago was that it isn't about not talking about it. It's about not believing it. It's about not giving it meaning. And so because of the nature of the kinds of conversations that I have and the fact that I regularly tell you guys that I'm very transparent, you kind of get what you see, and I'm going to be very direct, very upfront, very honest about how I communicate and also about where I am. And so the part of this transparency is, letting you guys know that me too, I'm on this journey as well as you guys, and I've got my questions and I've got my doubts and I've got my insecurities around it as well. And so I like to share these things with you guys. But what's really important is that it isn't so much for me to tell you guys that this is where I'm at, and this is where I'm pointing myself. And I recognize and I understand the recommendations from others that talk about how when we focus on where we are inviting the universe to give us more of where we are, as opposed to allowing ourselves to play in our imagination, to play in our intentions, to play in our energy field, such that we are living in the kind of life that we want to live for ourselves. And I understand that whole idea, totally 100%. What I'm pointing at and what I'm inviting you guys to pay attention to is I'm recognizing that there's nothing wrong with seeing things for as they are, but I'm not seeing things for as they are as a definition or as a agreement of this is how things are. It's more of a observation or a statement without giving it meaning or importance. Where we give our meaning and our significance and our interpretation, that is what creates our experience. That is what creates our future. And so, again, one of the things, as a little side note, I'm playing with the idea of creating daily-ish quotes. And I started that little project and it kind of got derailed. So it is on its way at some point, and Spirit's going to kick my ass at some point because I keep on procrastinating it. But I've come up with a number of little quotes that I'm eventually going to make public. And one of these is really talking about how we are who we are because of our past, the things that we have lived, the things that we have experienced. And again, playing in this linear time frame conversation, which is another conversation altogether. But we're playing in this space that we are who we are because of the things that we've experienced, the things that brought us here. But who we are today is what's making our future. And so the emphasis isn't about looking at what brought you to who you are and how you got here and what's happened to you and dot, dot, dot. It's more about, okay, acknowledging it, gratitude, appreciation for everything that you've experienced because it's made you who you are. It brought you to where you are right now with the level of awareness and the recognition and the interests of where you want to get to. It's because of your past. And now that you appreciate what it is that has brought you to this moment in time, allow yourself in this moment in time to focus on what you are becoming, what it is that you want to create, what it is that you want to step into. Because your future is being created right now from the energy and the vibration level that you're playing at this moment. And so that's where the emphasis is. But I feel comfortable saying, hey, you know what? I've got very little income right now. I'm okay. I'm living off my savings and I'm taking care of my mom. That's my focus. And, you know, I trust and I know that my bank account is in spirit's hands. It is no longer mine anymore. It is theirs. I just happen to have a name associated with it so that it's easy for me to draw money out of it. But it's no longer my bank account. I've handed it over completely to the abundance of the universe and letting them. And so what is them? Them is my higher self. Them is the truth of who I am. Them is the allness of what I am. And so I talk about them and the universe, but I want you guys to understand that what we are stepping into, what I'm stepping into, let me speak for myself. What I'm stepping into is an absolute knowing that I am the abundance of the universe. There's no separation. There's no difference. And so I refer to these ideas of my spirit friends and my guides and all of these things, but there's this underlying understanding that we are all part of the same essence and we are connected intimately with everyone else. And I know that a lot of people say this, and there's this idea that, oh yeah, we're all one. When that starts to really make a difference in our lives is when we start to recognize the truth of that, not just having it be a statement. And I apologize for the focusing. My camera has a hard time focusing at times. Pop myself up a little bit more, see if that will have the camera stop adjusting itself constantly. So redefining who we are, redefining how we relate to experience, understanding the nature of life at a level where we can begin to play within a environment where we are aligned with how things work. Playing in a space with a understanding of how, understanding the rule book, understanding the owner's manual, reading through the owner's manual of life and, as best as we can, understanding, oh, this is how life works. Okay, well, let me play in that space. Let me play with that understanding. Let me explore and experience life with that point of view and that perspective, and allow that understanding to help you transform your life and to help you shift your life. Because as we step into the fifth dimension, we are no longer transforming ourselves. We are living within a space of flow and of alignment where life itself is living through us effortlessly. And everything is happening in a way that is perfectly aligned with what it is that we individually want to create and what we want to experience and how we want to experience it. And so it's a collaboration and a co-creation in a literal sense with the energy of the universe, the energy of life, and ourselves being one and the same and playing and creating from that space. Now, one of the things that I have been also talking about with regards to understanding what the difference is between these kinds of levels of consciousness, we can easily get into a pattern of utilizing our understanding of life as a transformational tool. And when we do that, we align ourselves with, as I said earlier, the fourth dimension, which is a transformation. And manifestation and the law of attraction is used in many ways in many times and by many people at this level, at this fourth level of transformation, where I want to attract money, I want to attract a house, I want to attract the love of my life, I want to attract, and so they're transforming their life. When we step into an understanding where we are one with love and with the universe and with the energy of all that is, we don't need to manifest. The manifestation happens because we are aligned with everything. And as the council loves to say, things will happen to you and for you before you even realize you want them or need them. And so I'm not going to need to manifest more money because I'm going to have easy and effortless access to money. And I'm using money as an example. With regards to our health, again, the idea is our cells are constantly regenerating, constantly. Science has shown, and most of us have heard this, that our bodies are fully replaced every 7 years. So within a 7-year period, every single cell in your body has died and been reborn, recreated. And so these cells that are being reborn and recreated on a regular basis are being reborn and recreated at the level of our vibration at that point in time. And so as we allow ourselves to live in a place of love and expansion and less or not in a place of lack and limitation and separation, then our bodies are going to be given this opening for our body to regenerate and to heal, which is what it wants to, which is what it's designed to do, and which is what it wants to do. And believe me, I'm like everybody else. I've got my niggles in my body and my challenges too. Some of us more than others. My mom more than others. But it's one of these things where part of what we are doing, like I said earlier, is we are transmuting energy. And this is the alignment with what Matt Kahn was talking about. Because what we are doing is we are taking an old story and we are saying, no, you know what? I don't agree with that anymore. I don't align with that anymore. I don't want to keep on playing in that story. I want a new story. And when we do that, we literally help the collective of the planet to start shifting into that direction. Because when we let go of the idea that our bodies are going to disintegrate as we get older, when we genuinely let go of that idea and we start to live in this knowing and this understanding that our bodies can and are able to regenerate constantly and effortlessly, because this is the design of our beautiful human. When we start to live in that space, we have shifted and we have redefined what it means to be human. Thanks, Sally. So Sally says, I love the idea that when our cells are replaced, they do so at the vibration we are living at now. Yeah. Somebody said that to me not too long ago, and I really aligned with that too. It made perfect sense. May have been the council, and it may have been the council and others as well. But it's a beautiful idea, and it allows me to open up into the possibilities of effortlessness and infinite potential, which always seemed like a pipe dream to me. It's like, yeah, maybe I'll understand that one day. But I'm beginning to understand it. And it's a really cool place to be when you start to really see how we are literally creating our experience of life based on the meaning and the importance that we're giving to things. And so this is another thing that I wanted to bring up. Abraham Hicks talks about this, the councils talked about this, and I've heard other people talk about it as well. When we're being reminded that we are the creators of our own creation, it isn't for us to get judgmental and to get hard on ourselves for, well, I created my lack of abundance, or I created my health issue, or I created my romantic situation or lack thereof. And, so kick myself, kick myself, kick myself. That's not what they're talking about. That's not why they're telling us this. That's not why they're reminding us about this. They're reminding us about this so that we can recognize, oh, okay, well, if this is how the system works, well, then let me create something different. And that's all it is. It's learning how the system works so that we can take an active role in recreating and redefining the life that we want to live. And when we redefine the life that we want to live right now, guess what? That's the life that we're creating because we already are that which we are becoming, which is a phrase that I heard from Yeshua through Renee and Anthony, who are coming back later this season. You already are that which you are becoming. It's a beautiful statement. It's a beautiful reference. So redefining who we are, redefining how we relate to life, part of that for me in my journey is understanding how the system of life works. And so this is a lot of what I talk about, and a lot of what I point myself towards is really understanding and looking at, okay, so what game am I playing? Where's the rule book? Let me see what the rules are, and so I can learn not only to play within the rules, but also learn and appreciate and respect which rules can I bend, which rules can I break, which rules do I want to bend, and which rules do I want to break, and which rules do I want to rewrite? Because guess what? Guess who wrote the rule book? You did. Not consciously, but you did. You wrote the rule book, and so you can recreate the rule book at any point in time. And this is what I am stepping into, is this understanding and this knowing that I can rewrite the rule book at any point in time. That's my prerogative. And this leads me into another thing that I came across recently, reading the second book of Sarah Landon that she wrote with Mike Dooley. There's a statement that really jumped out at me in that. And I'm not going to be able to tell you what they said, but it was talking about how as long as you believe that you are here to learn lessons, you're going to come across situations where you're going to learn lessons. As long as you believe that you're here to be tested, you're going to create situations where you're going to be tested. And I no longer live in that place. I used to, because I used to agree with that. Because again, this is what I was told. This is what we were told that it meant to be human. Well, you're in human form because you're here to learn lessons. Okay, we've all heard that. A good friend of mine who I love and adore regularly talks about how our spirit team loves to test us, and I disagree with that statement. And I used to say, if anyone is testing me, it's my higher self, just to kind of check it and say, how am I doing? Am I getting this? Have I understood this a little bit more clearly? And I'm even no longer saying that. Now what I am referring to myself in my own journey is I am creating everything that I am living through. And so I want to align with the fact that I'm not broken. I don't need to heal. I don't need to be tested. Why would I need to be tested? I'm God. I have the energy of everything. Why would I need to test myself? And now what I do really align with is, as the energy of all that is, who's manifested into human form as Daniel, for me to explore what it's like to create as a human within this experience, so that I can do new things, and so that I can experience new things, and so that I can explore a different perspective that has never been explored before. That I agree with 100%. And I'm choosing to focus on creating an exciting, loving, expansive experience of life as opposed to one of lack, limitation, separation. Because I've been there, done that. Been there, done that. I no longer want to play in that space. And there's no judgment for people that want to play in that space. You know, there's no judgment because there's no right or wrong. There isn't one space that's better than another. It's just a personal preference. And I'm choosing to point myself in a direction where I'm creating and I am living from a place, and I'm expanding from a place of wholeness as best as I can while I get there. So Sally says, something I heard recently, which also aligned with me, was that we aren't all becoming, we already are. We are just rediscovering and remembering ourselves. Sorry if that's a bit nubby for people here. Naughty? I don't know what naughty is, but it's a British thing. Yeah, so, you know, this is what I was talking about earlier, is that you already are that which you are becoming. Basic. Okay. You already are that which you are becoming. But yes, a lot of people will talk about how this is a remembering. And so one of the things that I've been really enjoying and playing with as well with regards to this topic is, not too long ago, a member in my community, I've talked about this before because this was probably about longer than not too long ago. This was probably about a year ago. She asked me a question, and my answer to her was, well, let me be specific. She was talking about how she could transition at any point in time because somebody else, whatever, you know, tasks and activities she was brought here to Earth to do, somebody else can take over and do them for her. And so she can transition at any point in time. And what I said to her was that, of course, that's true, but it isn't true as well, because nobody can do it the way she does. And nobody will ever be able to do it the way she would have. Because we are all unique. We all have our unique personalities, characteristics, abilities, gifts, preferences that are embedded and imprinted into our experience that we're creating as human form. And so how I go about solving a problem or solving an issue, or, you know, getting on the other side of a challenge, how I go about creating and making the choices about my life is unique. There's no one else that has ever existed, and no one else that will ever exist that will do it exactly the same that I am. Ever, ever. In the infinite, in the infiniteness that we are, no one will ever be you again. That is powerful. That is amazing to recognize within our experience. And what this comment has been allowing me to recognize over time is the significance of that. We are, as Abraham Hicks likes to talk about, at the forefront of experience itself. We are breaking new ground. And what that means to me now is we are breaking new ground because we are putting ourselves in situations where we are going into a life within a planet where we forget who we are so that we can remember who we are. And in that remembering, we go through journeys that have never been experienced before. We have insights that expand consciousness, because that insight is directed at ourselves and at the story that we have created. the body, the experience that we've created. And so the universe is playing with itself, right? Where the universe, we create ourselves in this amazing human body to then play with creation, where we're kind of in a dialogue, where we're playing chess with ourselves. But it's a playful chess. It's not a competitive chess. It's this back and forth of, okay, I want to create this. Oh, okay, well, if you want to create that, oh, that gives me an idea. Let's do this. And then we get an insight. It pops in our head and we go, oh my gosh, I get that now. Okay, well, now that I'm here, what else do I want to create? What else do I want to experience? Oh, I want to experience that. Then the universe, the other part of us goes, oh, great idea. Well, okay, well, if you want to create that, then what about if we do this? And then I go, oh, cool. All right, yeah. No, actually, that's not going to work. But since you gave me that, let me tweak that a little bit and let me throw it back at you. What if we do this? And then the universe goes, oh, okay. And so there's this constant kind of back and forth between the different aspects of ourselves when we start to really play in this creative space, that we are the energy of all that is exploring itself, learning to understand more about itself by playing in this space of co-creation with itself in different roles. And we couldn't do that if we, let me rephrase that. One of the ways in which we can do this very effectively is this space where we forget who we are, or we forget certain aspects of ourselves. And so we start to create in that space. And when we start to understand that this is the space that we're coming from, and that this is the space that we're stepping into, then we start to create with this excitement, with love, with collaboration, with compassion, with wholeness. And we start to create incredible lives, incredible experiences where literally magic happens and miracles happen. Miracles are a day-to-day occurrence. And for me, this is what it means to be redefining what it means to be human, is letting go of the old stories that we've all been brought up with, that we all experienced for ourselves, and redefining that, you know, taking that piece of paper and crinkling it up and throwing it out and saying, all right, clean slate, blank piece of paper. What do I want to create? Who do I want to be? What experience do I want to play with? And I want to play an experience where my body is not only fully aligned with its innate well-being, but my human experience is inclusive of everything it's capable of, which is far beyond our understanding. And so I want to play in that space. Really excited to play in that space. Hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this has been making sense. Comments, questions, directions? So, okay. If you go to my website, there is a free online course, which is entitled The Secrets of Life and Mind Revealed, where I start to introduce the concepts that I learned through the 3 principles understanding, primarily, that begin to give us a framework for the blueprint that we are working within. Kind of the rules of life, the way in which life works. It's a written course. It's about 27 to 29 pages, I forget. 9 lessons. I'm working with a couple people that are interested in learning to facilitate spirit journeys the way that I do them. I'll get to your comment in a moment, Henry. And as I was putting together an idea for how am I going to be able to show someone what it is that I do, I came up with different modules. And so the first module was level 1 of this is how you facilitate a life beyond form spirit journey. This is what it means. Here's the directions, the intentions, the approach. But a lot of that comes from who I am and where I'm coming from, my grounding, my understanding, how rooted I am in my experience of how life works. Because what I say and how I facilitate a journey is dependent on my understanding of who we are as human and who we are as spirit. And so that influences the questions that I ask the person who's traveling as they flesh out their experience. And it also emphasizes the things, let me rephrase that. It also highlights the things that I want to emphasize during their experience to help them have those transformative experiences where they go, oh, and I'm like, yeah, that, you see that? Feel into that. And so they can really embody that experience of what they just experienced. The second part of this process, so level 2 of this conversation, I originally had defined it as being human, understanding who we are as human and understanding who we are as spirit as human. And I've recently retitled this to redefining who we are as human as spirit beings. Peter, my website is danielmartinezstahl.com or dms.lol. Very welcome. Oh, sorry, dyslexia, DMS. I'm not dyslexic, but sometimes things come out backwards. DMS, danielmartinezstahl.lol is the easiest way to get to my website. Or if you remember my full name, you can do the full name too. My free PDF link is broken. Okay, thank you, Sally. So I'll need to fix that. Okay. So the second part of this journey is really understanding who we are as human and who we are as spirit and the relationship between the two. And what we are, again, being reminded by all of our spirit friends across many of these amazing channels, beautiful channels, is this idea that we are creating our experience of life. You know, session 1 of the season with Gita Rose, we were talking about how the world that we experience outside of ourselves is created through us, by us. And this has, again, been reiterated by many others. The council talks about how we are the force field of consciousness and that we experience life and we create life through that force field of consciousness and within that force field of consciousness. And so there's this edge of understanding that I'm still stepping into myself. But for me, understanding the relationship between my human and my spirit and the role that one is playing with the other, and arguably we're the same, we are one. My spirit and my human are the same, yes. But again, we're playing in this idea, in this metaphor, that there is an aspect of individuality where my higher self is here, my soul is here, and my human is here. And they're all playing different roles within ourselves. And the relationship between the two is transformative. Understanding, again, for me, it's all about understanding how the system works and what's behind the scenes so that I can better understand myself and so that I can create and play aligned with how things work, as opposed to innocently misunderstanding and, well, I think this is what I need to do, and well, let me do that. And well, it sort of works sometimes, and it kind of doesn't work sometimes, but this is the best I can do. So let me continue doing this. Misaligned with how things work because I innocently didn't know any different. And so a lot of what I talk about is really understanding how things work and understanding the roles between things. And of course, they're all metaphors. So this course that I'm doing is redefining what it means to be human. I'm actually offering this as a discount to you guys. It's going to be probably bigger than I intend. I was thinking kind of 6 to 9 days across 6 or 9 weeks on Saturdays. And it might grow from there. It might expand from that. Understanding who we are and understanding the role that we play in life. Brings me back to this idea that a lot of us ask, and a lot of people ask to us, what is my purpose and what am I doing here? And I love the descriptions that I've been hearing from the council, and Ask Theo is another one that has mentioned this as well, is in different words, but our purpose is to experience and to live life. And for us to live our purpose, it's to follow our preferences, to follow our joy, to follow the things that we enjoy doing. And when we do the things that we enjoy doing, we are living our purpose. Because the things that you enjoy doing were planted within you by your higher self. And so you wouldn't be interested in exploring this direction if it wasn't because your higher self planted this desire in you and said, this is your purpose, follow this path. This is what I want to experience, and this is what I want to explore, and this is what I want to play with. And the beauty of this whole relationship is that my higher self has its own free will, my soul has its own free will, and my beautiful human has its own free will. And so we can play in this co-creation with ourselves, where we all have independent autonomy and authority to play in different directions. And when we align with ourselves, when we start all playing in the same direction, then we start to really, it becomes incredible. We begin to expand exponentially because we're aligned. Anne-Marie, sorry for the delay. I agreed to a human life of great emotion and physical suffering and pain. I am astronomically ready for a life of ease, pleasure, fun, adventure, joy, peace. My adult son and daughter are not on board with that. Okay. You and I have talked about. Go ahead.
And I've got to get off in about 5 minutes or so. So love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. So you and I have talked about stories that we innocently keep on repeating. that last sentence is a story that you keep on repeating. My son and my daughter are not on board. They're not on board. They're not on board. Who cares if they're on board or not? It's not about their life. It's about your life.
Yeah, but true. I
It's,
agree.
it's,
Um, I totally agree.
and so you guys have chosen to live a life where they are challenging you to step into the truth of who you are. And what's the truth of who you are? That you're going to live your life as best as you can,
Right.
regardless of anybody else. Because when you do that, you are stepping into your power.
And the way my human has figured out how to deal with it is to not have a lot of contact or interaction because it's usually not pleasant. But it just happened. I had a phone call with my daughter right before this call, and it ended as usual with her hanging up on me and being mad at me. So it's just a long time, many years. And my human yearns for a close, loving connection. So,
Okay,
you
ready?
know,
This
I
is where
mhm.
your focus is still on the outside. What your human yearns for is a close, loving relationship with yourself. That's what it yearns for. Everything else will be a reflection of
uh,
that. Everything else will be a reflection of that.
but other people also have a
No, no,
choice
no,
too.
no, 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 no.
I don't know if I agree with you on that.
Other people are outside of your experience. Other people are not defining you. Other people are not limiting you.
you know, but other people, as we interact with them, do affect our human. And I mean, in the past, I would have gone into a deep spiral down, like, in my head, this is never going to change. This has been going on for decades. I'm going to go to my grave and I'm still never going to have a connection with them. It wasn't that bad. But I realized as I was just trying to move through the, practical getting some food, I realized, wow, I feel really sad, because she, the place she's in her journey, she's always got to be mad at me and find something to be mad at and then hang up, even if we've had a halfway decent conversation. So, me as her mother, uh, I mean, in the past, I could go into days of despair
And isn't that wonderful that
with
you
the whole,
recognize that you've already shifted?
right.
Isn't
But,
that wonderful? No, but, no, but,
no,
isn't that
I
wonderful?
think it's a good thing that I appreciate your having Gita, because I would have just like overrode the sadness, done some food, done this or that to distract me and not let myself feel it. Do you see?
There's
I mean, don't
so
you think there's a value to, wasn't
there's a
that her
balance.
point?
There's a balance in this.
Not to run from the feelings.
There's a balance in this because yes, the part of the idea is to allow ourselves to experience what we are experiencing without judgment. And as we allow
Right.
ourselves to experience what we're experiencing without judgment, what we are experiencing can flow easily back to the energy of all that is, because all experience is temporary and translucent. It starts to become
Right.
opaque when we hold on to it and we give meaning to it and we give importance to it. And then all of a sudden that opacity and the transparency and temporary nature of it starts to become more fixed. It starts to be heavier. We
So
start
my
to
goal,
add color to it.
feeling even though I'm feeling some sadness and because of my yearning to have something I don't have and haven't had for many decades, but I can see today where I'll focus on playing piano, lifting my mood, that my happiness, my well-being is not dependent on
Yes.
her and how she treats me.
Yeah.
It's
And
dependent on me and
and
how I
the
choose to live my life.
yeah, and the more that you start looking at yourself and taking care of yourself and allowing yourself to be the focus of everything, eventually you will recognize that, what has happened in the past is irrelevant to what can happen in the future and to what's happening now. And if
And
And if somebody else in your life has a story that they're creating, which is driving them into a space of lack and limitation, that doesn't mean that you need to engage in their story.
and from what Karen said yesterday with Kareth,
Yeah, Hirith?
what I have is now. What I have it Hirith, what I have is now. What I
Yes,
have is this very glorious moment that
yes.
I'm sitting in front of this beautiful tree with these yellow green leaves and, listening to your words and benefiting from the wonderful people you're bringing in. I mean, I'm familiar with Karen from doing other sessions with her. I
Yeah.
love her dearly.
The experience that you are having right now is what you have.
Right.
So using Hirith as an example, is your house the source of a lot of pain?
Frustration.
Okay.
Frustration makes life really
Okay.
difficult.
Is your house the source of a lot of frustration and pain and sorrow?
Uh, well, it's how I look at it because I want it to be different. No?
Okay. Again, I'm speaking about your house because you brought up your house as an example
Right.
of this house has a lot of negative energy to it because we've been
Ah,
fighting for 50 years or 60 years in this house. And here said the
right.
house is just an object. The only reason that that energy is there is because you're allowing it to be there. So just in this moment, let it go, release it.
Well, I have wondered, and I don't know if this is so, if there are, and listening to you and other things that I listened to yesterday, if there are some actual negative energies with this house that needs to be cleared, whether from the past, whether from
Yeah.
another age, I don't know.
Okay. So again, different people are going to say different things, right? What I will emphasize, if you believe that the house needs to have energies that need to be cleared for you to give yourself permission to let it go, then yes, it needs to be cleared. But that's because you are assigning a task. Well, I need to smudge or I need to cleanse the energy in order for me to feel okay to let this go.
Hmm. So I just want to clarify. So here's was kind of saying it's all just objects. It's not like it's the meaning you're putting on them that are making them negative or difficult. Is that right?
To some degree, yes.
That would be her.
So I tend to believe that everything is love and that everything wants to align with love and expansion and playfulness and creation. And so my house, the home that I am living in, wants to play in that space. Now, I am of the belief that my home has its own entity and its own soul and its own personality and its own characteristics. Everything is consciousness. And if everything
Mm-hmm.
is consciousness, everything has consciousness. And so my home has consciousness. And yes, it is working with me and co-creating with me, but it's working with me and co-creating with me at the level of my understanding. And so if I am of the belief that dark energies exist, well, then my home is going to experience dark energies.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
why? I am the creator of my own creation, and I am powerful beyond measure, and I will create anything and everything that I give meaning and importance to. And so if I believe that dark energies can be held in an object, I'm going to create experiences that will bring that experience to light. And I'm going to have experiences of objects that are holding dark energies, or I'm going to hear stories of objects that are holding dark energies, and I'm going to co-create with others that have the same belief because I believe it. And so the universe is going to give me evidence of that because what the thinker thinks, the prover proves.
What was that again? Say that again.
What the thinker thinks, the prover proves.
The prover proves, like me. I'm the You think
Whatever
the
you
same.
think, the universe and your higher self, your soul, will prove that to be true.
Right, right. And I've got
Whatever,
it. Look, mhm,
whatever you think, whatever vibration you are playing at, different language, saying the same thing, the level of vibration that you are playing at, the universe will give you more of the same.
right, right. And I've got to go for another Zoom, but somebody wants you to channel, Daniel. I saw it in the chat,
Okay, thanks.
but I appreciate the time. And
So
I love you. Take
take
care.
care of yourself and focus on
Bless.
yourself, and everything else will, you'll see that everything else will shift as a result without having to
As I
change
said,
things.
take care of yourself first and foremost, right?
The longing that you are feeling is the longing to love yourself. That's what you are feeling. And you're projecting it out to your loved ones, to your family, because they're not giving it to you, but they're not going to give it to you until you give it to yourself, until you are worthy of it. And you will become worthy of it when you recognize that there's nothing that you need to be worthy of, because you already are worthy. You
Right.
already
I
have
hope to see you
everything that
later
you're looking
today.
for. Anyway, you've got to go. So we'll talk later.
Hope to see you later today.
Sounds
Blessings.
good.
Thank you for all
Bye.
this. Bye bye. Oops. Bye.
Okay, let me, if you feel moved to channel, I'd love to experience that. Great, Heather. Cece, I've been wondering about this too, but my experience has been different to this idea, as my spiritual life was originally all light and love until my life got derailed on multiple occasions by psychic attacks from dark forces. Okay. I'm not going to say that dark forces don't exist. I'm not going to say that psychic attacks aren't possible. What I will say is that when you allow yourself to shine so brightly in the recognition that you are everything that is and everything could be and everything that has ever been, what could ever attack you? There was a statement from Marilyn Alluria when I first started listening to her a couple of years back that really got me. And she said, the dark works for the light. The dark is there to challenge us and to shift us into recognizing that we are the only ones that have the power to accept or not accept the idea of dark energies. And I'm completely paraphrasing it. It's been a while. But it's this idea that, let me give you an example. A friend of mine, one of the people that I work with, reached out to me a little while ago and said, hey, I was pushed by an energy into a pole, and I ended up hurting my back and my body, and I've been sore for a couple months, and I can't sleep, and my body's not healing, and I'm really struggling with this. And she has a really strong connection with her spirit team, and so she connected with her spirit team at one point and said, hey, what happened? And they said, oh, a dark energy that wanted to prevent your daughter from participating in some ceremony because she's really powerful. Some dark energy didn't want that to happen, so they injured you so that your daughter would have to take care of you and wouldn't be able to go to this event. This is what her spirit team told her. And then we got on a call, and she told me about all of this, and I said, hey, she asked me to create a protection bracelet for her. And I said to her that for me, protection is very different than the way other people see it. That I would look into creating a protection bracelet for her, but let me share my thoughts first. If I am the energy of all that is, what do I need protection from? If I am genuinely God, for lack of a better term, what would God need protection from? And I talked to her about how what tends to happen with us is that we're playing at a certain level of vibration, of understanding, where we are creating our experiences for these experiences to help us see more, experience more, align to a greater understanding of who we are, align more and more fully to the absolute knowing that you are the energy of all that is, to your absolute truth, to the truth of who you are. When you start to shine so brightly, a shadow can't exist within the light. Can't. The shadow is a representation of an object that gets in the way of light, and then the shadow is the outcome of that. If the light is so bright, there can't be a shadow, because eventually the light is so bright that it starts reflecting off of all of the different objects that are around it. And so then the light will actually hit the back of the object because it's reflecting off of everything else. So much so that you can't see a shadow anymore. I had a situation where I got into a discussion with the Archangel Raphael because through someone that was channeling him, they said something that I didn't agree with. And so I got into an argument with them. And afterwards, I went to the council and raised my hand in the Q&A with Sarah Land and the council. And I said, hey, why is it that different energies and different aspects of spirit are saying things that are contradicting the idea that they are speaking at a level of lack and limitation? And what the council said to me was something on the lines of, wasn't that an incredible opportunity for you to recognize even more clearly the truth of what you are recognizing within yourself? And I went, holy shit, that's true. Because after that conversation, I was like, no, I vehemently don't agree with that. Vehemently don't agree with what was said, because it was pointing to lack and limitation. And I'm not there anymore. I'm not talking about lack and limitation. I'm not even recognizing lack and limitation as an aspect of where I am. I still have my beliefs that are holding on to it and kind of bringing this forward a little bit at a time. So I'm still working at letting those go. But for the most part, I'm not talking about lack and limitation. And so it helped me to step even more fully into the truth of who I am because of that disagreement. Second part to this, Carly, I didn't even really believe in them until this happened. And I am working with the archangels for protection and healing my insecurities, hoping that if I rid myself of all fears, they won't have any ammunition to reach me. When I was little, I remember talking to my mom driving back to our house in Guatemala in traffic. And we're talking about evil ghosts and evil spirits. And I said to her, what if an evil ghost comes into my experience? How can I protect myself? And she said to me, really easy, in the name of Jesus, go away. And so you can bring in these powerful entities like archangels and Jesus and Christ and, you know, whatever the case may be, to help protect you from these things. What I'm recognizing now is that it isn't about me bringing in Jesus. It's about me saying, I am light. You cannot hurt me. You cannot be in this space. It's just not the way that I play with energy. It's not the way that I play with spirit. Now, if I happen to come across an evil energy or an evil spirit that comes into my experience, I'm going to be really curious. What are you doing here? I have very strong intentions that prevent you from coming into my experience. So if you're here, what are you doing here? With this kind of curiosity and tone in my voice. It's like, okay, so this is a friend that came to play with me and they're coming as this dark object for some reason. Okay, well, so why are you trying to scare me? It's like, oh, so help me understand what's going on, you know? And so there's this kind of space of, I don't need protection because I realize that there's nothing that I need protection from. And when I can live from that space, that is the truth of me. And if I have an experience with a dark energy, I'd be curious. Okay, so what's going on here? Why are you here? Sorry, Heather, that I didn't get a chance to channel for you. I'll jump into it and it'll be in the recording. Does this make sense, Carly? And again, this is just my perspective. And there's no judgment and there's nothing wrong with, hey, you know, if people want to play with dark energies, they can play with dark energies.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. That really helps. You know, it's something I've been doing a lot of research on. I mean, I've even studied spirit release therapy myself, and I recognize, you know, that you know, there is spiritual warfare, but you know, I mean, I became a psychology student about 23 years ago, and I'm working really hard to kind of understand the true metaphysics of madness, because you know, things happened and fears that I didn't even know that I had, you know. And my consciousness was put into so many hypothetical situations, and you know, I realized that there are energies out there that not only can, you know, use your passions to make you scared, but also your, you know, your deepest worries. And you know, and I'm wondering, like, you know, if I'm able to if I'm able to just sort of feel, because I had a situation recently where I felt almost like I was receiving a communication from the dark, in which it was kind of even being nice to me and saying to me, like, don't worry, like, you have free will, like, you are able to exercise choice. It's my job to tempt you, but you don't have to fall for it. And I feel like now they're even making it obvious, like when they're doing that, because they don't even want to win against me anymore, because I'm trying to communicate with them at a level, like, I know that the ultimate reality in which we come from is love, and some people just play the role of villains for our ultimate, like, evolution, if that makes sense, you know. But yeah, I am kind of engaging with Western theology after like a long time study New Age and Eastern practices, because I recognize there is great power in the scripture and the name of Jesus. You know, I've had a lot of biblical parallels in my own life, which has kind of made me aware that, like, I need to read the Bible. I don't know anything about it, you know.
Okay. There is, what was the phrase you said? There is warfare. What was the term?
Yeah. Spiritual warfare.
Spiritual warfare. As long as you believe that there's spiritual warfare, you're going to get examples of spiritual warfare.
Okay.
Bottom line. And if you want to explore and play in that space, no judgment, play with it. If you want to continue playing with the idea that dark energies can play with your fears and even your strengths and turn them against you, to, if you want to play in that space, go for it. There's no judgment if that's the kind of experience that you want to experience.
And I mean, somebody else said something similar about, and I prayed in church and I said, look, I don't want to learn through pain and suffering anymore, but through joy and pleasure,
And so you had an incredible experience where one of these dark energies said, I'm not really that dark. In fact, I'm not dark at all. That's an incredible experience.
Yeah.
A friend of mine was channeling energy, and they happened to, different energies pop into my friend all the time. And one time this energy stepped forward and said, I love scaring the shit out of people. And we were like, what are you talking about? He's like, I love going into these old castles and being the haunted ghost and scaring the shit out of people. And we were playing with him. It was fun. It was an open, playful conversation. He was jovial and friendly and communicative, and his pleasure and his enjoyment was going to people that allow him to scare the shit out of them. And so he did, because it's fun for him to scare the shit out of humans. And so again, if you engage with spirit in a way that allows spirit to be dark in your experience, then there's going to be energies that like to play in that space, and they will accommodate your request. And part of the journey that we're on, the reason that I really liked Marilyn's comment about the dark works for the light, and the dark is there to remind us of who we are, is for us to recognize and to step into the truth of who we are, which is, we don't need protection from anything. And learning to play with dark energies might be a great way for you to, I don't know, learn something about life in a way that allows you to explore a different aspect of life. And maybe at some point you can help people that are dealing with dark energies in the future to resolve them. Who knows?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. But there's something, sorry to interrupt you. There's something really quick that I want to just kind of highlight here. The only reason anybody goes into a state of mental illness or mental distress is because they are innocently not understanding how they are using their thought. And they are innocently believing thoughts to be real, and then responding to those thoughts as if they're real. And we do the same thing. We just don't do it at that level. That's the only reason that anybody goes into a state of mental illness, when they are perpetually thinking thoughts and thinking of them to be real and responding to those thoughts as if they're real. I'm depressed. I'm depressive. I have the DNA for it. My chemistry means that I'm a depressive. And so I'm going to go into deep, dark depressions. And so that's a thought that I'm believing to be real. Now, my physiology is going to match it. My physiology is going to support it until I shift that. Now, what's more powerful is for me to recognize, if any thought happens, there's going to be a fluctuation in thought. It's never going to be steady. It's always going to have little ups and downs. And so if I'm playing at a level of -10, and it's fluctuating between -9.9 and -10.1, if I focus on the -10.1, I'm going to lower myself a little bit more. And then that's going to have a little fluctuation too. And as long as I keep on focusing on the one that's lower, I'm going to constantly keep on going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And the reverse is true. If I start focusing on the 9.9, then I'm going to go to a 9.8, then I'll go to a 9.7, and little by little, I'll start to see that how I am paying attention to my thinking will actually shift my experience. Therefore, I am actually in control of this, and I'm not the victim of my experience. Oh my gosh, I can actually shift the way that I am experiencing life. And then that becomes a exponential curve that brings me out of a depression really, really easily. Or I can just recognize, oh, I'm just getting caught up in thinking right now. I just need to take some breaths. Take some breaths, calm down, and all of a sudden I just jumped up from a -9 to a -6. It's a very simplistic way of looking at mental health, but you can look at any situation, and it's always, we are all doing the best that we can, given the thinking we believe to be real in the moment. Really, really simple. And the same thing that goes to this idea of dark energies. We are doing the best that we can, given the thinking we believe to be real. And if I believe that dark energies are real, then that's a thinking that I'm believing to be real, and I'm going to respond accordingly. I would be foolish not to.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, in a way, even though it was very distressing, the things that I've experienced, you know, I've been kind of crying cathartically for about 16 days in the last 2 months. And, you know, it's like a way that the soul purifies, I gather. But, you know, now I feel really at peace. And even though the fact, you know, at the moment I'm unemployed and I just found out I'm possibly being evicted, it's like, you know, compared to the horror that I've lived through in my consciousness, like that is really a small scale problem. You know, I feel like I can handle anything now in a way. So I do see the value in it.
There's the constant reminder from spirit, again, through different channels, that will remind us that when things happen to us that force us into a different experience, is because the universe is wanting to give us something better. And now we can focus on, oh, this is horrible, this is traumatic, this is tragic, I am in lack and limitation. And we can, again, we can focus on the negative of where we are. And the more that we focus on the negative where we are, well, the more negative we experience. What a wonderful opportunity, if I'm being evicted, to go to a better home, a better experience, a better neighborhood that's more aligned with that which I am becoming. And now, yes, some of this can be, you know, an affirmation that you tell yourself to help you kind of shift your perspective. But I'm not talking about it being an affirmation. I'm talking about it kind of seeing the truth of that. And when you start to see the truth of that, then that shifts your energy and it shifts your perspective. And therefore, the universe has more space to actually respond to what's coming. There's no reason that we have to, you know, live in lack and limitation. There's no reason. We can if we want to. We have that free will. We did for thousands of years. We came to this planet, Earth agreed, where it said, okay, I'm going to support the idea of separation, and let's have that experience. And so we chose that experience. And Earth has basically said, all right, I'm done with that experience. I want to experience something new. And we are shifting through that. And we are shifting away from how we thought life was, and we are moving into the life that we can create. And it's limitless.
Yeah, I mean, I just read this book, The 7 Myths About Love, actually, which is not just about love, but about the nature of the ego, which I feel in a way is slightly synonymous with maybe this idea of the demonic, you know, the way that the ego can tell you lies and make you compare societally, and how actually this is a wonderful opportunity to gain true inner peace in the absence of worldly things. So being like, I don't define myself by my income, you know, by transient things that can easily go, but just to find the state of happiness that is inherent within, you know. So
the state of happiness is inherent within, with or without the trappings of material situations. In other words, your happiness isn't dependent on the circumstances. Yes, that's true, but it's not at the detriment of your circumstances. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you so much. Yeah, I just
Yeah. So, I mean, I love the conversations about the ego because for me, the ego is my human experience. Why would I want to think of my human experience as being evil or dark or menacing? I
yeah.
just, I don't get that. I don't buy into that.
Yeah, I think there's it can be a good and a dark side to the ego. And I think I just mean like in terms of these kind of lower emotions of like envy, pride, greed, you know, the 7 deadly sins or whatever, which can manifest through the ego when you kind of go into that consciousness of lack and limitation and comparing yourself unfavorably to others and so on.
Yeah, well, I mean, our human has the incredible capacity for all kinds of emotions, including the dark, you know, the dark ones, the heavy ones.
Mm.
You know, our human has incredible capacity for it, which is the reason that we come and play in human form. That's the reason that humans are as powerful as they are. Humans are unlike any other experience in this universe. Spirit tells us this all the time. You know, somebody the other day talked about how, you know, Earth is like a playground, but it's like an elementary school because, you know, we're not as advanced as other civilizations. And it's actually the opposite. We are so advanced as a civilization that we get to play in the darkest energies that are possible. We get to play in these dark energies, and we get to play and explore and get out of the darkness. The other day, I was listening to somebody talking about how, you know, they connect with extraterrestrials, and in a conversation with the extraterrestrials, there was a comment about, well, we are evolving and we are bringing ourselves into an alignment with the rest of the universe. And so once we allow ourselves to be in this level with the rest of the universe, we can then, you know, communicate and be part of the universal council of whatever. And there was a comment about, well, what value, there was a question about what value do humans bring into this? Because, you know, you guys are so far advanced than we are. And what the energy said, and I'm completely paraphrasing here, please take this with a lot of salt. What the energy said was, we are so valued because we have learned how to overcome challenges that are not available in other universes, in other worlds, in other dimensions. And so we bring a lot of value because of our ability to overcome difficulty and challenges. And whether we do it in this lifetime or across multiple lifetimes, we are playing in this really challenging and difficult space on purpose because we are so strong, because we are so powerful, because we are so advanced, because everyone playing on Earth is a master, which is the reason that we are able to come here and play in these really challenging energies, because we are masters. Gives it a different twist, gives it a different perspective. We are, our ego, again, if I want to look at my ego as dark and evil and menacing, well, then I'm going to create experiences where a part of myself is dark and menacing. Why would I want to do that to myself? I don't get it. I don't want to look at my human experience as negative or dark or less than. I don't want to look at an aspect of my personality as something that is trying to control me. I don't want to, I don't see the purpose in wanting to have that experience with myself. I want to be best friends with myself, not to see myself as a challenge or as a struggle or as an enemy. But as long as I continue to create ideas that that's my experience, the universe is going to give me more experiences to reflect that. Again, just me on my soapbox. I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, for me, in a way, I kind of have even almost more gratitude for the people who have mistreated me, because I know that deep down they were reflecting, some deep-seated, unresolved issue within myself of how I really saw myself, because there is a false self. It says, oh, I'm great and wonderful. And then deep down, we're really insecure and we feel unworthy. I think a lot of human beings struggle with this, because they haven't really figured things out yet, and they blame themselves for their past behavior. But I kind of see, it as a soul contract and as a process through which, I've co-created, with my higher power in order to achieve self-realization in a way, and to learn cause and effect and karma and what's the best way to be in relation to myself and others.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that will talk about how the jerks in our lives are living a very difficult life in order to be jerks. And they chose to be jerks in this life in order to help us see something and learn something and experience something different for us. And so they chose a more difficult life out of the love they have for us.
Yeah, I read that book, The Little Soul and the Sun. I think that's a really beautiful parable about, the roles we play for helping each other learn the art of forgiveness and stuff like that,
And now here's the invitation that you can start to kind of play with. Again, as long as you believe that you're here to work through karma, you're going to work through karma. As long as you believe that you're here to work through lessons, you're going to work through lessons and no judgment. But there's an opportunity for you to have a different experience as a human on this earth, because this is all shifting. And we are all going to a place, to an experience on earth where we are not going to be living with lack and limitation, where we're not going to be living with the darkness and the experiences and the fears and the ideas of separation. We're all moving into a space where there's going to be love and compassion and collaboration and co-creation, not only between ourselves, but also with the planet and with other species. And we can get there now individually. Because the world isn't, the other day I heard somebody say something like this: we don't change the world changes according to our vibration. We don't change the world changes according to the level at which we are playing within ourselves. And the more that we see the truth of that, the more that we recognize that everything else are just stories that we keep on telling ourselves that are there to allow us to fight for our lack and limitation. I can't tell you a number of times that I'm talking to my mom and she'll say something and I'll respond back with something that's more expansive. She says, yes, but this is how it is. And I'm like, no, but it doesn't have to be. But this is how it is. This is how it's always been. I'm like, but it doesn't have to be. But this is how it is how it's always been. And she's fighting for her limitation. And we all do it to some degree, and some of us more than others. But the invitation is for us to recognize that there is a possibility of something more expansive than what we even thought was possible and what society keeps on telling us is possible. If people want to play in, the number of people that play in this idea that the ego is dark or controlling us and that we need to do this and that the other, if that's the level that they want to play at, that's fine. I don't like playing in that space, and so I don't. My ego, I stopped using the term ego because I felt that the ego had this whole negative connotation to it, and I recognized that what people were referring to was their human experience. Well, my human experience is going to get caught up in, my ego is going to be caught up in negative emotions. Well, the human is designed to have negative emotions. And so the human is having a negative emotion. Okay. Well, understand how the system works and understand how your mind works and understand how you're playing with your power to think and how you're using your own free will to create that. And then your human's going to have a different experience. And as long as you are wanting to play in lack and limitation, that's great. More power to you. It takes a lot of strength to do that. It takes a lot of strength to do that. And it can be very powerful in many ways, because as spirits, we don't have that experience. We can't have that experience. And so we come into physical form to have that experience. And then when we go back into the spiritual realm, we look back at our challenges and go, oh my God, those were the fun parts. those were the best parts of my life. Look at that struggle. Look at that challenge. Look at the depth of that depression. Look at my anger. Look at my frustration. That is so cool. Because we don't experience those in spirit form. And so there's no judgment. This isn't my way is better than any other way. All I am saying is that this is a different perspective and a different way of looking at things. And you've got your free will to choose what you want to believe in. You know, when I first started playing in past life regression, a lot of people that I knew were saying, oh, you need to be really careful about, you know, working with evil energies, and you need to learn how to, you know, do the spirit transmissions, and how to, you know, work with, you know, getting rid of evil energies. And so I signed up to a course, and I took a course, and I learned the techniques. And while I was learning the techniques, I was also recognizing that I don't need them, because that's not the space that I'm playing in. Now, if someone happens to come to me, let me give you an example. I know that we're kind of over time. I apologize. One of the people that I worked with during a spiritual journey, she found herself in a dark space. And I said to her, what are you experiencing? Well, I'm feeling a lot of pressure. It feels really heavy. It feels really dark. And I said, oh, okay. Well, what is that there trying to do for you? How is it trying to help you? And she was like, oh, it's working through my beliefs. It's helping me to release some of the beliefs that I'm holding on to that are holding me back. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And so we allowed this dark, oppressive, heavy energy to work through her beliefs and to help her release them. Now, parallel somebody else that believes in dark energies, same exact step-in, same exact drop-in point. What are you experiencing? Oh, I'm experiencing a dark, heavy energy. Oh, okay. Well, let's talk to that dark, heavy energy, and you know, it's evil, so we need to protect yourself from it. I didn't even have that response, because that's not the way that I play with energy. But some people could have had the response, and they could have turned that energy into some evil monster that they needed to release, that was an attachment to her. And they could have created that. And because they were playing in that space, that's the experience that they would have had. So because I have a different perspective on energy, when this dark, evil, heavy energy came into our experience, it never occurred to me that it was something dark, evil, and heavy, and an attachment of some sort that was holding her back. Never even occurred to me. And so, no judgment. But there is an open invitation to look at a more expansive perspective of life. So hopefully this is helpful. I'm sorry that this has gone longer. And I'm sorry that I didn't channel. I'll find time at some point in the season to do a channeling for you guys, even if it's after the season. Hopefully this has been helpful, Carly. I apologize if I'm kind of harping on this.
No, it's good. It's good for me to recognize the role my beliefs are playing in my experience, because yeah, I don't really want to experience that anymore.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. But like I was talking to Anne-Marie earlier today, right? Your soul is longing to be loved. Your soul is longing to be heard. Your soul is longing to be living in a place of love where there isn't any idea of darkness and evil and egos that are out to get you. Your soul is longing for that. And so allow yourself to step into that space where you can care for yourself. The biggest benefit that I have of knowing that all is love and that all is light is, guess what? Me too. Me too. I am all light. I am all love. Even when I lose my patience with my mother and I scream at her or I get frustrated with her and, whatever, that's still part of my light. That's still part of my love. I lose my patience because I love her so much, because I want something better for her. I get frustrated with her because I love her so much that I see how she is innocently creating all kinds of distress in her life, and I want something different for her. And so I get frustrated with her. And it comes from a place of love. It just doesn't manifest as love, but it comes from a place of love. Dark is working for the light in order to help you step even more into the truth of who you are, which is what? That you are light. And if you are light, which you are, there can't be any darkness that can affect you. If you are the light that is shining brightly, there are no shadows in your vision because the shadows are away from you. Does that make sense? If you are the center of the room and you are the single light source within that room, you don't see any shadows. You can't see any shadows because you are the source of that light. And so your light is projecting out and hitting all the objects. But what you see is the light reflecting off the object. You're not seeing the shadow that's created on the other side of it. And so this metaphor can be broken in all kinds of directions. So please take this metaphor really lightly and really loosely for what I'm intending here. If you are the light, there is no darkness because you're the one that's shining the light. Make sense?
Yeah, and I just feel at the moment I'm being tested. Like, whenever I think that like I'm in a kind of Zen state, then someone will treat me in a way that doesn't resonate with my high standards of manners or, whatever. And instead of like getting angry or, for example, somebody the other day on social media started saying, show me your tits, and like instead of getting all like angry feminist, I was just like, I found it funny because there was a misspelling, and it was like that's what I chose to focus on was like the humor in the moment, rather than like this is an offense to me personally or whatever. Like I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in these tests.
Yeah. It seems to me like you're stepping into a greater understanding of who you are. And eventually could be tomorrow or later today. It doesn't have to be eventually 30, 40 years down the road. At some point, you will get to a point where you don't need to think about changing your perspective or having a different perspective. You will just have a different perspective. And then you will notice it after the fact and you'll be like, oh, look at that. I responded differently to that situation. I had no idea. Things will shift. The more that you understand the truth of who you are, that understanding will shift your experience accordingly. You don't need to work at it. You don't need to practice it. You don't need to learn it. It's just you understand that you're light, and that understanding will shine. And then you start to learn that you can shine even brighter because that's what's always possible. It's infinite. There is no end to our ability to shine. We can shine brighter. And guess what? When we get there, we can shine even brighter. And then when we get there, we can shine even brighter. And we just allow ourselves to shift into a different understanding of life, so that that understanding changes our experience. So either those situations just aren't attracted to us anymore, or when they are attracted to us, we have a very different relationship to them. And we just don't engage with them in the way that we would have in the past. And sometimes that is a slow progress where we shift little by little. And sometimes it's a big insight that hits us and we go, oh my God, look at that. I'm seeing things differently all of a sudden. And then we just shift our awareness instantly. Again, no right or no wrong. And they both happen simultaneously. We have big insights all the time, and we have little incremental shifts all the time. Be kind with yourself. Appreciate yourself. Appreciate, everything happens for you to learn more about yourself and to step even more into the truth of who you are. And so the invitation is, when things happen to us, is for us to kind of step into a space of neutrality, where we can step into our own power and take 3 deep breaths, feel the truth of who you are. Take 3 conscious deep breaths, feel the truth of who you are, and your relationship to whatever's happening around you will instantly shift, even if it's just by a little bit, but it'll be more expansive, guaranteed. And the more that you do this, the more that it happens, the easier it is for you to shift your experience when you innocently get caught up in something and your human engages, because your human is designed to engage with life as if it's happening to it. Yes, thank you, Chiara. I'm aware of the time.
Okay, that's fine. You can have a break now, but thank you for all your insights. It's helpful because, it has been confusing, all these things,
It's so easy for us. There's so much stuff out there, and it's so easy, and there's so many misunderstandings of life, a ton of them, and innocently, because people aren't told anything different. They're not taught anything different, and so this is the life that they believe they're living, and so they believe that evil exists because this is what they've been taught. Movies say it, books say it, friends say it. They've experienced evil in their life, and so it's real. But there's another opportunity, which is when you recognize that you are the creator of your own creation, which you are, and you start to recognize the truth of that, then you can start releasing and letting go of the things that are holding you back from having a different experience. And this is the 4th dimension. And eventually, when you play within this space, and again, eventually could be later today or tomorrow, it doesn't have to be 30 years down the road, but eventually you start to recognize that, oh, there's something even beyond this idea of me shifting my experience, where I can just be in the truth of who I am, and my experience will just be what it is, in love and compassion and wholeness and abundance and completeness. And this is where we are at. This is what I was referring to. The fact that you are in this struggle is exactly where many of us are, because we are shifting away from that struggle and into a more expansive understanding. And when we do that shift, we actually help the collective shift. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful space to be exploring. You are so powerful and so strong that you are able to deal with these questions. If you weren't, you wouldn't be having them. They wouldn't have come into your experience. And so I love the invitation that I picked up from Matt Kahn, which is, we are transmuting energy because we are able to transmute energy. We are powerful beings, and that's why we are energy sensitive. That's why we are empaths. That's why we are what we are. And part of what we are here to do to help Earth is to change the energy of the Earth. And through our experiences, as we redefine what we thought was a reality, and we start to recreate and redefine a different reality that we want for ourselves, we actually transmute that energy so that somebody else on the other side of the planet who's struggling with the same challenge actually has an easier time because we've shifted. And so it's easier for them to shift. It's a beautiful collaboration and cooperation and co-creation. And we're all playing a different role in that. But I love the idea that we are, through our challenges and through our struggles, we are actually redefining what is possible for us. And as we do that, we make it easier for the rest of the world to shift. So again, I apologize for not channeling for you guys. I will find a time for it, I promise. And so, Carly, thank you for bringing this up. I hope that my musings have been helpful and my perspective has been helpful. And I cannot emphasize this enough. No judgment, not for you and not for your situation and not of you, not from me or from anyone else. No judgment. Love and compassion and understanding for all of us. We innocently are defending ourselves from the things that we believe to be real. We innocently defend ourselves from the things that we believe to be real. And the more that we see the truth of life for what it is, we start to recognize that a lot of the things that we thought were real before really aren't real. And so we no longer need to defend ourselves against them. And they just fall away, they just disappear. As long as I perceive that there is a fire in my house, I would be foolish not to do something to protect my safety. And everybody would agree. And so as long as you perceive that there's something that is threatening you, you will do everything in your power to defend yourself against that threat. It's part of human nature. It's part of our survival mechanism. And when we start to see the truth behind things, and what that truth is that you are the light. you are the light that creates everything in this universe, including the darkness. You start to see that you have a very different relationship with the darkness. And I'm just using that term as a reference. So anyway, I've got to check on my mom. Sorry for the long call. Thank you guys all for your questions and you know, Carly, for your patience with me throughout this conversation. And if you're interested in working with me, I keep on being told by my friends I need to promote myself more. If you're interested in working with me, I'm happy to do one-on-ones with you guys. And I've got a wonderful membership with a lot of intimacy and a lot of experiences where we talk about these things and we explore these things, you know, collectively, and we all help each other expand and go beyond the edges of our understanding. And then, of course, the spirit journeys, which I talked about. If you want to connect with your spirit team and explore alternate lives and play in your multi-dimensional space, I would be honored to facilitate that with you. And we'll leave it at that. So thank you guys for being here with me. I appreciate it. Again, I will find a time to channel for everybody. And I will leave you guys for now. We'll see you in 5 minutes. And I will leave you until next time with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for being part of this incredible experience. We hope that this session has inspired a new level of understanding within you, allowing you to expand more easily into the essence of your true self and become an even more powerful alchemist in your own life. We invite you to listen to the session again and again in order to go deeper each time and expand even more. Have it be via the replays or the unlimited access package. If you have enjoyed being part of this event, we invite you to tell your friends so that they can join us in the future. We are grateful that you are here, and we thank you for co-creating this experience with us. Until next time, we leave you with being spirit, being human, and simply being from love.